Well, our first story for this week, the Untitled Vision series that was formerly known as VisionQuest got a significant update this week with James Spader announced to be returning as Ultron. Little else is known about the series beyond the fact that it is the second of 2 WandaVision spinoffs on the way, and that Star Trek Picard's Terry Matalas joined the series as showrunner earlier this year. It's been almost 10 years since Spader appeared as the titular character of 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron. Do we think his malware is up to date?
My favorite thing about these shows is that they're like formerly known as like Prince, the artist formerly known as Prince. It's really, really funny they're doing that with Agatha and this. It just tickles my funny bone. This is pretty interesting. We don't know anything about this series, but Spader coming back means it's more than just flashbacks. So is it, Vision having introspection and maybe tapping into some Ultron, or, did he find some of his code somewhere in the interwebs, wherever they live in the world? I still have never figured it out, but who doesn't love a James Spader voice role? I mean, he killed it as Ultron. Definitely that movie ages really well in terms of how underrated it is, and he's just a huge part of that. So, yay.
I'm totally with you. And this is ever since we saw White Vision do his thing and disappear. I have been saying that like what I really wanted was that he went on a quest to figure out who he is, and I figured he'd be revisiting the sort of versions of himself from the past. And I always for a long time I speculated he might show up in Wakanda Forever because I thought it would be a good place for him. Because he was downloaded into Shuri downloaded him or whatever. But this is even better. The idea that returning to his roots means returning to one of his sort of fathers, as it were, with Ultron and Tony kind of collaborating to create Vision. So I'm pumped to see, like you said, James Spader, amazing. Can't wait to hear him again. But also to see what that means for the Vision character and revisiting his origins. I think that's super cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's always kind of been the thing with Ultron, right? Is like the movie Age of Ultron, like you said, ages well, and I agree with you, but I think a lot of people, when they think about that movie, they think maybe Ultron was a little bit underutilized as a character in the MCU. He really only has this brief appearance in a movie, and then we see all these other villains get built up over multiple movies like Loki and Thanos and, these future ones that we have coming down the road. So I think when you think about Ultron, sometimes that's the conversation, is that this is a character that just was sort of a flash in the pan, just like kind of really quick, but had a little bit more potential to maybe do some more, maybe be a bigger threat down the line or something like that. And it seems like the people who know a little bit more about the industry are talking about this, and they're saying that this is not just a cameo, that it's not just like a quick flashback scene, that this is a character playing a central role in the story of this series, that there will be more James Spader than just one little flashback or one little kind of conversation or whatever, that this will be some sort of a voice in Vision's head or something like that, a software, a program gone wrong or whatever, that's going to sort of lead him down the path that this show is going to take him. So I think that raises my interest level a lot, knowing that it's not just a cameo, that it'll be something that actually does give Spader some time to really lean back into the character and do something with it. So yeah, I mean, we're kind of playing the hits a little bit at Marvel, right? I mean, we're bringing Downey back, we're bringing Spader back, you're bringing Hugh Jackman back, like you're bringing some of these people who have played these legacy roles back into the fold, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. I mean, that can be exciting, and it can bring people back to the franchise that maybe haven't been as interested lately. And I think for most people, when they hear about the Vision series, maybe they're not super crazy about it. Maybe if they didn't watch WandaVision especially, but you hear, all right, it's going to have connections to Age of Ultron. I kind of remember seeing that movie in theaters. Like, maybe you can kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. But I would imagine we'll see some West Coast Avengers influence here from the comics run. And who knows, maybe we'll even get an appearance by Elizabeth Olsen. Maybe we'll get some type of a flashback or something like that in this series. So yeah, I mean, we still got until 2026, but I think everything's looking really interesting for this series on the horizon.
I couldn't be more excited for this announcement. Like, I have been a long champion of Age of Ultron, and people like to, poke fun at it and call it Weekend at Ultras. weekend at Ultron, and that's fair, Jay. To your point, there really was the potential promise for that character, and it never really felt like that was delivered. So I can't help but look at the timing of this announcement. And again, Jay, you mentioned the fact that we're bringing back RDJ, and it really does feel like a little bit of a greatest hits and a return to form for Marvel. So I wonder how much of an influence those announcements that were made at San Diego Comic-Con, in addition to D23, how much of an influence those had on convincing James Spader to come back. Because if they knew about this a long time ago, why don't you announce that at Comic-Con? Why don't you announce that at D23? And this is not the first time we've seen Ultron come back since Age of Ultron. Those that have watched What If remember that a variant of Ultron played a significant role in that series. And no, he was not voiced by James Spader there, but the other quotes from this article that stood out to me, I can't remember if it was Jack Schaefer or if it was Terry Matalas, but someone involved with this series they mentioned how WandaVision and Agatha all along, and then this Vision series are all going to be part of like a quote unquote trilogy, and they're going to have themes that tie together as well. And I think back to when we had that, initial marketing and first few episodes of WandaVision, there was the built-in mystery. People were like, it's Mephisto, who is the one manipulating all these events. And like, I remember I suspected Dormammu could even be in there as well, but I really thought that they were going to bring Ultron back into the fold there with all the digital glitching and everything like that happening in Wanda's Hex. So again, we'll have to see what exactly they do with the character. Is this going to be a one and done in terms of this Vision series? I personally hope not. Ultron has a long-standing history in the comics and against the Avengers. So yeah, we're getting Doom, who is a character we've wanted to see for a really long time, but albeit again, we don't know what version of that character we're getting. So I think if you bring back Ultron and really, double down and invest your interest in that, I think it could be really, really successful, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. I had a theory when we first watched the Age of Ultron way back in the day on the MCU cast. I think it was literally our reaction cast, that Vision, he talks to Ultron in that final beautiful moment of that movie where he talks to Ultron. He's like, I don't want to destroy you. You are something beautiful and unique. I don't want to destroy you. And then he goes to shoot him, and then you just see a yellow light appear, which is the Mind Stones activating, and you assume he's killing the last Ultron bot. He's like, you are the last one, and he kills him. And I had a theory on our reaction episode that like, what if, though, that is the Mind Stone, literally like where Ultron came from? Yeah. What if it just reabsorbed him? You know what I mean? What if it saved his file to the Mind Stone or to Vision's programming? And I've been saying that for like, 10 years or however long it's been since Age of Ultron. And I love that like, there's a little bit of like, maybe my idea was right. Come on, Terry Matalas. Me and Terry Matalas think a lot alike. I think he had my same idea.
You're unbearably naive. Sorry.
It could be a cool Jekyll and Hyde discovery thing for Vision to go on, where he has this voice in his head, the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other. And two, I think back to the, when did that series? 2012, I think, Vision comic series where he creates his family.
Tom King,
like,
if
this
I'm not
could
mistaken.
very much be, a door into that kind of story, which we read those and did a retrospective about WandaVision with those comics, but it wasn't really what those comics were. I think the Vision, because he's an android, he's always on that precipice of being a villain. So what do you do if you reintroduce the code that was dark and negative?
Well, especially when he's starting from such a neutral place, like that's like as that character who he is, and kind of like a blank slate of programming. I also think it's just what a great way to lead back toward Marvel connectivity, to have a great post credits if they have a plan where like the whole story is him sort of like dealing with his darker nature and his more lighter nature and sort of deciding between them, and then just like any good Marvel story, he chooses the light eventually, but then you find out that program somehow slipped out into the world, you know what I mean? Like, and you get that post credits where Ultron is still alive, and that leads to whatever Marvel thing that should lead to. I think that would be a really fun. That would be a post credit sequence that would get me hyped to know if that character was sticking around.
Oh yeah.